Yeah. So if you guys can't see, we are sitting opposite this time
but
because
we were last time too.
Well, yeah, but that's because we had a guest, so it feels different. But now when we're like our normal setup and we're sitting differently, it's kind of just weird.
But it's because I need the heater.
Yeah, she's super cold and she has this heater by her feet if you can't see it. So, but yeah. So anyways, guys, welcome to season 3 of the I Know Right
podcast.
Yes, and sorry about the energy. Episode 1.
What the heck?
But yeah, what the heck? Oh, now Susie's acting brand new right now.
No, I mean
it's all retrograde right now.
I can make it better. Like I just need a topic.
Don't fake it. Don't fake it. You know what? Let's show the people the real you. Yeah, let's go. Come on, show them the non-energetic.
Our 17 listeners, okay, know the real me. Okay, they know I have a nice dance between anxiety and depression all the time. Mercury in retrograde started.
Okay.
That my problems extend not from this particular Mercury in retrograde, but probably a Mercury in retrograde in like the year 2013. And I've been dealing with that since then. Because a lot of stuff happened that year. I'm not going to say what. But ever since then, my life's not been the same for the good and the bad.
Right. Well, you got to take it as it comes, right? Good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, I was having a discussion with Susie, and I was just like, man, you can't blame retrograde on what's going on.
Like my personal problems?
Yeah.
I think I can. Don't you rather be like, this is out of my control right now?
No, there's certain things that are out of my control and certain things that are in my control.
Like, I can't control how people speak to me.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
Like, so then.
So you
different.
control your reaction to them.
Correct. Which is always.
Sad, depressed.
No.
Kill myself at mentality.
But no, at the moment, it's not that. At the moment, I'm just quiet. I don't give people the satisfaction of like being upset.
Right.
Whatever, it's fine. I was in a cult. That's it. Like whatever, it's fine. I'm over it. COVID over here is still.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, guys. My fucking lungs are destroyed. We just had one.
They had a really rough workout.
Yeah, we had
today.
a rough workout, and I haven't worked out in like 2 weeks, and
George was sick.
And I was sick. I had COVID
Again.
Yeah, again.
We talked about it last time, I think.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So I had COVID again. So, but you know what? I was reading up somewhere where you can't have COVID twice.
Yes,
But
you can.
But I was like, maybe it's a different strain.
Yeah, if it's a different strain.
Because I didn't get the joint pain this time. I didn't get like the fever. I didn't get none of that.
Different.
So it was a little different. So I thought it was probably a different strain. So
yes, you can for sure.
But I did get the no tasting again.
That's crazy.
And I got those
to
no
me is
smelling.
crazy because supposedly with Omarion, that doesn't affect your taste and smell, I guess. But I guess maybe you're not even on Omarion yet.
Yeah, maybe I'm something else. Maybe I'm regular COVID, and then I got the Delta, and now I'm gonna get fucking Omarion and shit. And then they got all these other ones fucking
coming out.
They got like, what is it, the Deltacron?
Deltacron.
They got the fucking Flurona. Yeah, like what the fuck, dude? Like it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but
he's better.
But yeah, I feel better. So I have this like cough right now, you know, because of the hard workout, and I haven't worked out in a long time. So, yeah, I'm getting that out of my system. So sorry about that, guys, if I coughing in your ear. But yeah. So what's up?
So.
Wait. Before we get into that, I want to say, how do you feel? Season 3, our 3rd year in, for episode 1. I mean, what are you feeling?
Number one, incredulous that it's been that long.
Yeah, that's a big word. I don't even know what the fuck. That's a big word, guys.
I can't believe it. Like I can't believe it's been this long that we've been podcasting together. Because we started at the beginning of 2020 before everything happened.
Right.
And I can't, like, to me, even though, like, we know it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Like, really think back to that. It seems like yesterday.
Yeah, it feels like we just talked about, like, hey, should we start this? Or, like, what's going to be the basis of, or...
Yeah, it seems like, honestly, it was just a couple months ago.
Yeah,
like, we had to ask Ange and be like, hey, like, do you mind if we record here?
Right.
Like, all that stuff. And like so much stuff has obviously changed, but it still feels like it was yesterday because we're in this pandemic life still. And I think that it's hard for us to really tell time. Right?
Yeah, it is. It's super hard. Like, yeah, it's like I was reading a meme the other day, and it said like 2022 is like when you're sick and you're congested from one nostril, and it just moves to the next nostril. So it's like the same but different.
Yeah.
So that's how
true.
it feels. Like it's just like.
Oh my gosh, that hasn't happened to me in a long time. I'm gonna think about that. I hate that when you're like, I'm getting better, and then it's like, oh no.
And when you're leaning to the side and just kind of like.
And then like you have to like,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
So
yes.
like the, se destapa.
Right,
you know,
right,
like,
right.
Like,
but yeah, so
funny.
and it's because I mean, there's a lot of things happening now. You know, there's not shutdowns, but they're like the vaccination now. You know, the cards going on, the mandates and stuff. You know, a lot of my gyms are going back into mask mode. You
Really?
know, yeah. So two of my gyms in the city, they went back to mask mode. So it's kind of like weird again. You know, it's like when they said 2022. You know, it's like saying again. You know, so.
I keep thinking like we're already in February. I mean, we're not. It's January, 17th today.
Right.
But to me, it already feels like I think that I just want to like fast forward.
Yeah, you're skipping ahead a lot.
Right?
In your life, you're skipping ahead a lot already. So.
And I usually am not like that. I'm usually the type of person, as I just mentioned like 2 minutes ago, I look back. Like, oh, that was this, that was that, 2013, right? Like, I'm that type of person that looks back a lot, which I don't like to, but that is what I do. And I feel that lately I'm like, ooh, February. Like, I'm already there. Once it's February, then it'll be March, spring. Like, I'm already trying so hard to just kind of leap. And that's kind of weird for me.
Is that the business owner in you now, or is it? Do you think it's kind of like how you are now?
You know what? That's a good question. I'm going to say it's both because last year it was kind of hard to plan out for the year because we still were very unsure on all this stuff. Like the vaccine was just going to come out. We didn't know anything.
Well, I think it was your first legit full year, like of a real year.
And I was still dealing. I was still very, or the old owners were still very much attached in name and all that. So I think that that's why maybe this year I've already planned pretty much until June. And so maybe that's what's propelling me forward. But also I feel that in my personal life, it's the same.
Okay.
Like when I make plans with Presley or when I talk to him, it's always like, what about this? What about that? Tomorrow, next week, next month. Like I'm already.
So it kind of trickles over.
It trickles over, yeah. It does trickle over because I'm like, before you know it, it's March. Before you know it, it's April. You know, so yeah, I have found myself doing that a lot. So
do you like that, or do you not like that, or do you?
I think that it is a defense mechanism. Because I'm candid, because I'm not very happy right now in present time. So I was even unhappier in the past, like in the recent past.
Right.
So maybe like automatically my brain is like, okay, this is not working. Let's go forward now.
Okay.
So I think that that's what's happening. Yeah.
Okay. It's funny. I laugh because I'm thinking like, okay, let's see. Think back now. When as much as we've known each other, is there a moment that I've known you happy?
I've had happy times, yes. I'm gonna say that like from the time I got the gym, or because that was like the most recent past, till about this time last year, I was happy. So from like May to January, I was pretty happy.
Okay.
Well, maybe even February.
Okay.
Yeah, I was very happy, and I was very happy with myself. I was feeling good in my personality. I was feeling good in my growth. I was doing the stuff that made me happy. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about this because it's something that I've discovered along with my journey. Because I feel like George has his own. A lot of people in this gym, like it's something we promote, like growth. So, but like I never shy away from the fact that like I have to really work hard on certain things because my personality and my body tends to be more in the anxious, depressive realm, right? It's hard for me to be like sunny side up and glass half full type person.
Yeah.
But I also felt like during that time when I was happy, it's because I was like, nothing's my problem. It's their problem how you know, anybody that does that to me, that they have an issue. It's not my issue. Um, Me like working on myself has nothing to do with my family. I can just block them with my boundaries. And in the end, like I've done a lot of work on maybe the last 6 months or so, and there was a big shift within the last few years. There's like gurus here, there's life coaches there, there's the holistic psychologist, and blah 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 blah. And I feel that there's a big problem in this very specified realm of self-help, which is toxic positivity, where it's like, oh, everything's just positive. But the thing is, it's like we do exist in a world with people. We do exist in a world where we have families. And so I actually unfollowed the holistic psychologist maybe like 4 months ago.
Wow.
4 or 5 months ago, I've unfollowed her.
Okay.
And I have found her problematic in specific areas where people call her out, and she then chooses to not answer because she's like, no, you guys have a problem. That's not my problem. But at the end of the day, if you're, well, like how many followers does she have? Like 13 million, something like that. Like, if you have a following, not that you're responsible, but there are going to be questions raised by people who follow you that may have difference of opinion on you on lots of things, right? And like, for example, when the whole, you know, George Floyd and all that stuff, she didn't have anything to say about it. And she still hasn't really said anything about it. And when it comes to like issues that way or that have to do with social justice, she really doesn't have much to say. And it reminds me of someone else who, whenever I try, because if you guys have been watching or know me in person, you guys know I'm about social justice, and I'm always talking about like racial equality or anti-colorism or anti-racism, etc. And people that pretend it doesn't exist are white, and it exists.
Like, wait, did you say are white?
Are white.
Okay.
And it exists. It exists 100%. Like, we see the dead people. We see the people that are getting harmed. We see the people that are not able to, you know, get fair trials or jobs or, you know, whatever. We know that it's real. And so for me, that was really problematic. And I didn't unfollow her then. And then as time went on, like, I've seen that within these people, the toxic positivity, where it's like, just freaking, you know, imagine that you're a millionaire, and if like you don't become a millionaire, it's because there's something wrong in your thinking. Well, that's not how life works. You know what I mean? Like that's not, no matter how much you try to manifest stuff, at the end of the day, that's not how the universe and life works. So yeah, there's a term for it, and I didn't coin it, but it's called toxic positivity. And so yeah, I've unfollowed a lot of these people. Like even my former life coach, I've unfollowed her as well. Because at the end of the day, when I am going through something like this, it's no longer like, oh, you have depression. Oh, you have this, which are clinical things. It's like, no, you are choosing to think thoughts that make you unhappy, which on some aspect it's true. But at the same time, it's like they don't have the knowledge on knowing how colonialism affects a person. How, and I've talked about it before too, how when I would go visit my grandparents in Mexico, it was very traumatizing to leave them because they knew, like, at some point when I go and return here, I'm never going to see them again. And that, like, that type of trauma is something that people without roots anywhere else or without a different culture who just grew up here where it's a very individualistic culture can't understand. And so, yeah, that's been a little bit of my journey the past year or so, is unfollowing her and kind of just like refinding my way. I'm still all about the universe. I'm still about, I mean, obviously Mercury in retrograde. That's what we've been talking about today. I still believe in the universal laws and the laws of attraction and the laws of, you know, like likeness and all that stuff, because they're real. But at the same time, there are other factors in here that those specific creators or gurus or etc., like, it really turns me off when they say stuff like that, because it's like, no, this is your positive thinking where you're just like, I don't see colors and I don't see racism, but it exists, so.
Why do you think they do stuff like that? Like, why do you think because they don't want to maybe ruin their following, or because, I mean, it would just make them more real, It would make them just.
Yeah. I think that they just are serving to a specific audience.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And I think that specific audience, for the most part, is not of color. And if they haven't had that experience, they don't think it's true.
Right.
Right? Like, did you hear about that? I don't remember her name because I could care less about this creator, but she became famous for like a lifestyle brand. And she, like, last year at some point talked about her maid as the woman that cleans her toilets. Did you remember hearing about that?
Oh, I think I did hear that. Yeah.
And like, people were really offended by that because she had obviously people that were of color that followed her, and obviously her maid's of color. And so she was just like, no, like, I just don't see color. And she is the person that cleans my, and it was just like so tone deaf.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm like, okay, like, here's another example of someone with privilege who doesn't see that what they're doing is wrong, and they can just base it off the fact, like, oh, I don't see color personally. Then why say it that way?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why pretend? Like, she was like, I work hard, but like, everyone works hard for what they have. So let's not fool ourselves into thinking that you worked extra hard and that's why you've become a millionaire when you have no prior history or teachings or education on becoming some sort of lifestyle or life coach person. So yeah, it's been a lot of little things like that have turned me off from that whole space.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very interesting term you said, toxic positivity. So, like, would you say that, so those people are like, they're just trying to be like happy-go-lucky people. So what you're trying to say is that you're just more in tune with your emotions. So what a lot of people do is they kind of fake it, right? They come and they don't talk about their feeling bad. And honestly, like I was telling you, like dude, you're always depressed, you know what I mean? And I think
I have an issue though. I'm an oversharer. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
And I think that if I wasn't, people would, but I'm so comfortable that I'll be like, no, like,
dude, but you know what?
I hate life. And I may not really feel that specific sentence, but it's basically me trying to tell you guys, like, I'm down, but I think I'm just so comfortable that people are probably like, yeah, like, this girl's freaking always sad,
But you know what, okay, so when you think about it though, it's a breath of fresh air, because a lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people aren't, or they keep it inside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you are vocally and physically showing that you are not well.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people are kind of just like, no, I'm fine, blah blah blah. I'm this, and then I think, like,
or they do drugs,
or they do something that kind of hides it behind,
Yeah.
And I think that's a nice, like, now that I think about it, because you brought up the toxic positivity, because there are people like that. There's people like, oh, rainbows and sunshines, and no, like, there's bad things that happen out there, and it is bad, and it is how you said, like, there's certain things we can't control. Sometimes we do control things, but it's okay to feel that like that, and I think that's something that I don't think.
There has to be a balance, though.
Well, sure. Yeah, there has to be a balance, but I feel like a lot of people around you don't understand that.
Yeah.
Because we are so used to being like, fuck, I feel depressed, but I'm going to keep it inside me and kind of just act like my normal self.
Yeah. You know what, though? It's so funny because people might think, like, my mom taught us to be... My mom was so very much, like, always so stern. It was very rare that she would tell you, like, oh, like, I'm depressed. Like, I never heard her say that, like, I'm sad, or like nothing. Like, she just did what she had to do. And I sometimes think that, like, as a daughter of an immigrant, like, that they hold in their feelings so much that it's kind of like when the levee breaks on something, that it's like the children that now are the ones. Because my sisters and my brother, like, we're very like, oh man, like that freaking sucks. Like I'm gonna be upset all week. Like we are very vocal about that stuff.
Right.
But like my mom's not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like my mom might just be quiet, or if she's in a bad mood, like she'll show you that. But as far as like worry or sadness or something, like she won't show it. But like feel that those feelings are held in so much that for us as the kids that we're like, oh no, like I have to let this out because I don't know if it's like the continuation of her work or if it's because we saw her do the opposite or I don't know.
So let me ask you, since you so for instance, like some of myself, if I'm feeling depressed, I kind of just ignore it. I kind of just whatever, move on with my life until it gets over with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you opening the door towards that sadness or depression or something like that, like, does that
make it better?
No, does it bring it up more often? Does it come out more often now, or like does it, or like, you know what I mean? Like, does it like open the floodgates for that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say that. So also. I was talking about my mom, but like I'm also a mom.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So there's I feel like I have a lot of unfinished sadness or sadness that I never presented because I also had to be in the like fight. You know, like I had to raise kids and I had to work and I had to figure out like how I was going to get to work because I didn't have a car because I was too broke and how I was going to do this and that. And I think that's how my mom was. And so that's what I was repeating. And now when I may get sad or depressed about something totally irrelevant and I'm just like, oh man, like I'm gonna, like I have to feel my feelings. Sometimes I'm so sad, I don't even know what it is. And then it'll be like, it could be weeks later or months later, I'll be like, like I'm still dealing with this old stuff that I didn't deal with back in friggin' 2000. You know what I mean? Like I'm now dealing with like, man, like, yeah, that was a messed up time. Like I'm dealing with that, you know? And so then it's good and sad at the same time, but it gives me clarity. Like, oh yeah, like I never dealt with that.
Right.
I'm not just a super freaking depressed person. Like I have all these emotions in here still.
Right.
Yeah, so it can be surprising, but it does suck. Like I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes I feel like I'm never gonna get better.
Right.
I have this new thing where I'm itching my face, and it is a psychosomatic symptom. There's nothing itchy, but I'm scratching at my face.
Dude, that's crazy because I heard like those drug people, they would feel their
So when I first presented anxiety, I was 12. And it was because I was pulling out my hair. Mm-hmm. And so that's called trichotillomania, okay?
What the fuck?
Yeah, so I have trichotillomania. And you've missed a lot of conversations about my things at the 5:15 a.m. class. It's been coming out a lot. But like this is a new thing. And I was really upset by it. I was so upset by it. Every time I would go to Presley's, that's where I itch. Okay? And he kind of got a little upset. He's like, you only itch here, you know? And I was like, I know. I really thought like he might have like those little like fruit flies. Or, like I just didn't know until I realized like, oh, like this is my depression. There's nothing wrong here. Like I don't have actual bites of anything. I'm just literally itchy. And so he was like, but I thought you felt like safe here. And I think that the fact that I do, and at his place is the only time I'm not like, I got to text this person and I cannot call here. I'm kind of really try to be present with him. And I think that because I'm not like busybody, that then my brain has to be like, okay, let's deal with this somehow. You're not dealing with it. Because if I'm at work, even though I'm telling you guys like I'm freaking sad, I'm still busy. I still have to send emails. I have to look at payroll. I have, you know what I mean? Like I have to do all that stuff. And then when I get to him, then I'm like, okay, let me now relax. But really, my brain's like, no, you didn't deal with anything yet. You stayed too busy. You talked about being upset, but you didn't really deal with it. Yeah. And so now I'm itching my face. And so, like, yesterday, I was, like, very upset. I'm like, I'm never going to get better. I was like, I'm never going to get better. Like, now I have a new thing. Like, I'm 38. Like, now I have a new symptom that goes along with my mental health. But then it's like, okay, like, it's my new journey. I'm not pulling out my hair. So it's like it's shifted to something else. And so now I just have to kind of like see where this takes me. Like this, I don't want to call it self-help or, self-discovery, but this is literally the biggest project is me. Mm-hmm. And even though I joke around a lot and all that stuff, like I plan to be here for a long time. And while I want to say like next year I'll have it all together and I'm going to know me, I'll probably never be done.
Yeah. But do you see like an endpoint? Or do you just keep on working on yourself?
I want to be endpoint. Every time I reach an endpoint and I feel good, it's like a new thing pops up. Mm-hmm. And so really, guys, I know George said like he kind of like forgets it. Like feel your motherfucking feelings. Like feel your feelings because that's the only way to freaking get through it. Unfortunately for me, I have a lot of feelings and I didn't feel a lot of them for a long time. And now they just like come out at the most random, annoying times.
Okay, so how would you go about that? You're telling somebody feel your feelings, but and so I'm learning this little by little because I have a daughter, right? And now I have two daughters, right? So, but what I'm learning is so there's this guy on TikTok. He said he did something like this, but it was more about fear, and it was how we like kind of like. What is it like? Dismiss children's fear. Like, oh, there's nothing to be fearful for. There's nothing. Go into the dark. Go close the door. Let me close the door. Don't be scared. You can do it. Don't. You know what I mean? So when you tell them don't be scared, you're dismissing their emotion.
You're
their
telling
feeling.
them don't feel.
Right. Don't feel.
Don't feel that.
And so that's when I was like, what the fuck, So
yeah, and Mexican parents do that.
Exactly.
So much.
And that's what I'm trying to say is like so.
My mom would be like, don't cry.
Exactly.
So I think that's why I cry so much now.
That's what I'm trying to say. So how would you tell somebody like myself? So okay, obviously I'm learning and I'm putting in the work, or like I'm like telling Dalia, it's okay. Why are you scared? What's going on? Tell us. It's like I'm not telling her there's nothing to be scared of, but like what are you feeling? Blah blah blah. Right. Mm-hmm. But like, how do you tell somebody like myself or
how do you feel the feelings?
Yeah, like when you're telling me, when you say feel your feelings, when I'm just thinking like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, that's tough.
Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, okay, I feel sad, I'm feeling it, but what the fuck does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, does that mean loathing, or does that mean like sit in it? Does that mean you know what I mean?
Sit in it. Sometimes I don't even really know what that means. Do you know what I mean? Like it's. Like, feel your feelings. Yeah, it sounds so simple, but at the same time, if you've never been allowed to, you don't really know. So, let's say, for example, something silly, right? Like, because you really have to think all we are is adult kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're
big kids, So, let's just say something like, for example, I wasn't included in something. I always like to say, because I really think that I feel this, that if you don't invite me to something, or if you don't like include me in some sort of like book club, something that it doesn't bother me, right? But maybe if you like that happened to me recently, and it did bother me, and I was like trying to avoid it. Like, no, like I don't care. Like that's on them. Like I don't even want to go, right? Like it's something so dumb. But then I'm like, okay, no, but why am I upset? Why am I thinking about it? Why am I even reacting? I wasn't telling anyone about it. It was like in my internal self.
Yeah.
I'm like, why am I even reacting to it? And then one day, a couple of days after, I just literally started crying. And Presley was like, what's wrong? I'm like, I honestly don't even know.
Poor Presley, I could just picture like,
Presley's
what the fuck?
Like,
poor Presley, dude. I could just feel like,
But he was like, why are you crying? And I'm like, I honestly don't know. I'm like, just let me cry for a minute. Like I felt like I can like think it, like what is it? And so I was crying for honestly like probably like a couple of hours, and then he came, he's like, do you think you can talk about it? And I kind of just like explained what had happened. I'm like, hey, like this thing happened and I wasn't included. I'm like, and I feel silly for being upset about it, but I am upset about it.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me feel like these people don't care about me, or like I'm not that important. I'm getting a little emotional about it.
Oh.
I am. And it was kind of like just a sad thing, like a little kid would.
Yeah,
like if
for
they
sure.
don't get invited, And
yeah.
I was like, And I think, and it was like something pertaining to like a wedding.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it's kind of sad because it makes me feel like maybe I'll never have that moment. Because it was like a wedding dress thing.
Uh-huh.
And at the same time, like the people that went, I really don't care. But what it brought up was like they had this really nice moment, like best friends watching a friend try on dresses.
Yeah.
And like I don't have a best friend. Like she's not here. And so I'm never gonna have that moment. And it like took like literally 4 days and like 2 hours of me crying like this for me to be like, that's what it was. It wasn't that they didn't invite me. It was like that they were gonna have this moment. I'm never gonna have it. Like even if I meet someone today and they become like my new best friend, like my real best friend's not here.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what it was. And not all of us have like 2 hours to cry. You know what I mean? But like you really have to think and talk about it. Like crying is the way that I digested it and was able to be like, that's what it was. But at that moment, I'm like, why is this bothering me? I don't care about like, and I really don't.
Yeah.
But it was the fact that like I'm not gonna have that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the fact that I wasn't included. It was the fact that I'm just not gonna have that moment. And so that's the part that made me upset. And once I said it out loud, like I stopped crying. I didn't feel those feelings of like saltiness or like even like jealousy, I guess, when I would like hear about it from those people or like see pictures or whatever. Like I didn't feel those like ill feelings. And I think that was one of the first times where I was like, I felt my feelings, you know, because otherwise I could have just been like, man, I'm not jealous of them. Like, who cares about those people? Like, I didn't even want to go anyway. Like, that dress is ugly. Like, so many things that you say.
Right, right.
But it was really something totally different, you know, because at the end of the day, like, we go through stuff all the time, and we have to get up and go to work, and we have to be parents, and we have to be sons, and we have to be daughters. And so you can just kind of, like, keep going through the motions and not realize, like, hey, that really affected me. Like, I don't have a best friend. She's gone. Like, she committed suicide. You know what I mean? Like, she chose to not be here. And then I have to think about, like, hey, like, I have a flat tire right now. My friend Paul would have, like, been like, all right, where are you at? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have those people. So when these little things come up, that's when I'm like, I freaking hate life. You know, like, I'm very dramatic with it. But that's really the issue. You know, like, I have to realize, like, why is this bothering me? Why is a simple flat tire bothering me? Oh, Paul's not here to help me. Mm-hmm. Like, he would have done that. He was a really good friend, you know. Why did this bother me? Why is it bothering me that, like, you know, these girls went on a girls trip to Puerto Rico? Because I can't do that, you know. So it's there's always a reason behind it, you know, and you don't really know what it is until you actually have to be like, okay, like, why is this bothering me? And then be like, feel it in here, and it'll come out. It may not be like right away, but it'll come out like, my mom left me. She forgot about me and didn't pick me up from school till like 7. That's why I hate when people are late. You don't know.
Right, right.
You know, like, you have to really feel it out. Yeah. That's what it is, basically.
Right. And then when the way you said is like, we're so busy in our regular lives that it blocks that opportunity of being able to find out where it came from.
Yeah.
So my question, do you get better at that?
I think so. Like, I think lately I have gotten better. And I think that, honestly, this relationship with Presley, I don't know if it's the relationship itself or that I'm older or that I had already started doing work prior to him. But it does teach me a lot. You know what I mean? Because I have seen, like, things that would have before been like, man, forget Presley. Like, you know, like, for me to be like, okay, like, him doing something so simple, like, why does that bother me? Yeah. What is it? It's not him. And this is where the toxic positivity people get it wrong. It's like, oh, you're reacting to how they're doing it. It's your issue. Like, yes, it is, but, like, there's something behind it.
Right.
Right? So that's the point that they miss. So here it's like, okay, like, what is it? oh, okay, yeah, like, you know, honestly, a lot of the issues is the fact that I don't have that core group of friends. They've all kind of unfortunately passed away or been gone or whatever. Or it's also a thing where it's like he has such a loving family. And to me, it's like, oh, like, like, okay, I guess, like, hang out with your family. Like, I don't have that. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a little bit of a, kind of a growing pain every time. Because it's like, this is bothering me. But, like, okay, why is it bothering you? So I have gotten better with it. And I think you do get better once you allow yourself to feel that. You know? Because I bet if you're upset and you kind of don't really know what it's about, and Stephanie asks you, like, what's wrong? And you're like, nothing.
Yeah.
But then really, there is something. Right. But you probably don't even know what it is. You probably got annoyed by something, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, so I'm starting to learn, like, that nothing is something. Mm-hmm. But when I try to find out what that nothing is, like, my mind just every fucking, and that's why I'm trying to ask you, does that get better? Because there are certain times where I'm like, I'm able to connect something now, right? So, like, for instance, like like when I see another photographer take a gym from me and I'm super fucking mad. I'm like, why am I mad? Is it the money? Is it this? Is it that? Or when I see a photographer do really, really well, it's like, and like now I realize my mom used to compare me all the time to my cousins. Oh, your cousin has a house already. Your cousin has this already. Your cousin has a new car. Your cousin has that. You're this and this and that, and she would compare all the time. So that's one thing that I figured out. But what I'm telling you, it took me so fucking long to figure that out. Like, why? You know what I mean?
I actually was going to send you something today. I'm not sure if I sent it to you now or not, but it was basically about that. Like, this was specifically to coaching because this person's like a life coach, I guess. But she's like, why do you get mad when someone that filled out the website like page and like didn't end up following through? Yeah. Like what? Like, because that stuff does bother me. Yeah. And it's just like it's an imposter thing. It's an imposter syndrome. You feel like you're not good enough, and at the same time, it's like, yes, and I say it all the time. Like, the people that are here, the people that are meant to be here. Like, these members are meant to be here. So what do I care if this freaking person that drinks so much on the weekends and smokes cigarettes before class and, like, no shade or whatever, but, like, that's not what I want here. Right. So, like, what do I care that they join another gym? Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's I'm glad that you figured that out, because it's imposter syndrome, and it usually stems from, like, your mom being like, oh, sí, la muchacha ya tiene su carrito, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Crazy, like, yeah. And I'd be like, what the heck? Like, you just told me to save money, or it was always something like that. But yeah, I feel you. I feel you. But yes, there's always something. Right. And that's where I'm like, I wonder if it gets better, because like fuck, like, the dishes aren't washed. Why does that fucking trigger me? You know what I mean? Like, what's the thing? You've mentioned that a few times before. I mean? Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, what I'm saying is, like, why does that trigger me? Like, and that's where, like, all my paths just go over. I'm just like, why does that? Where does it lead up to? And I'm just like, so hopefully, like, it's a lot of mom and dad stuff, yo. Yeah, it is. It is a lot of mom and dad stuff. I hate it. Presley's so good about being like, oh, you're tired? I'll cook dinner. Oh, like, he cooked dinner and be like, I'll wash the dishes. Like, you lie down. And, like, and then, like, let's just say he doesn't put the eucalyptus on the shower head. Like, you didn't do this? Like, I get so upset. Yeah. But he literally just did all this stuff. And it's like, because my mom always demanded perfection. Yeah. Like, I could have cleaned the whole house, but let's say I didn't, like, close the bread properly. Like, oh, you freaking didn't do it. Oh, dude, I fucking hated that, dude. And I think that, yeah, like, I am so hard on myself and I'm so hard on the people around. It's because my freaking mom. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, like, there's so many things that you kind of just, like, when they tell you that you have to, like, learn new, everything, unlearn what your parents like, you literally have to. Yeah, rewire yourself, your mind. Because I'm like, man, like, he did everything. And then I'm like, no, why am I mad? This is so dumb. Like, why can't I do it? Right? Like he literally just did all this stuff. Like, why can't I do it? That's hilarious. That's so funny. I think I think that all the time too. Like, I finish washing the dishes and I tell myself, was that so fucking hard? Was that so fucking hard? Like, why did you get so upset stomping all the way to the sink
And you know what I mean?
I bet you're like,
and I'm just like,
I bet you're even saying stuff under your breath.
Yeah, I was like, this is like the 5th time I did this today or something. You know what I mean? Like,
God.
I'm just like,
I'll punch you in the face.
Yeah, so like, and you know, at the end of the day, like, there's always a saying that I kind of like saying, I was like, is this gonna matter like in 5 years? You know, and that's helped me like get over things. You know what I mean? So like that's something that I always kind of tell myself. But like, and it's so interesting for somebody like yourself that you're so in tune with your emotions that you're able to like just be like, okay, let me stop. Think about it. Where did this come from? You know, when other people like myself are like, okay, why am I feeling this? Or why is this trigger? I'm barely like on the trigger spot, like area, you know, like, whoa, I'm mad. You know, people think you get mad just because you get mad, but like that's something's in there. Something's going on. Something is happening. Yeah. And I'm just like, so yeah, that's, so before we finish, what, is there anybody out there like influencers or books or anything that you kind of like that don't have that full toxic positivity?
I do have some, and I will guide you guys because we do have a few minutes. I love Liz Listens. Yeah, she's really good about that stuff. She's on Instagram. I like Mindful Movement. I like Vienna. God, what is her name? Hold on, because she's good as far as relationships. She's Mindful Movement. And there's a couple more, and I guess we could put them out in the show notes. But it's not always about like we should be in a good mood, and if we're in a bad mood, it's our fault. Because at the end of the day, what you're blaming is like child you. Yeah. And that's not fair. And it's also not fair to be like, oh, it's because of your parents. Like everyone is just doing their best. Right. And we're all trying to, you know, and especially as people of color, I think that it's all this talk about like boundary setting and blah, blah, blah. Like that could also make us feel conflicted inside because we are meant to be a family unit. We're meant to be social people with like, a community. Right. And so it can feel isolating, like, oh, I've cut off all these people from my life, where it's like, did that solve the problem, or did that just allow you to run? Right. So I think that these specific people that I'll mention to really teach you how to either like navigate their relationship or realize like, oh no, it's more harmful than positive, and then let them go, so it's a journey, that's what it is. It's a journey. Nice. Cool. So yeah, guys, we didn't have this direction. We started off with this gonna be a Jim Jones episode, but I didn't want to talk about Jim Jones. We talk about Jim Jones a lot because that's like Susie's. I actually had Presley watch. He's not my man. Ew, like she would totally fall for Jim Jones, like not like romantically. I'm saying like his woos and like you're in my cult. Yes, and it's crazy. Like we'll talk about Jim Jones another time. But I had Presley see it. He's like, that's insane. I'm like, I know. I'm like, but to me, cults are fascinating because you always feel like, oh, I wouldn't fall for it, right? Like you think the best of yourself. Like, nah, like I wouldn't fall for it. Like what? Right. But he can convince over 900 people to commit suicide. Yeah, that's like, insane, dude. That's crazy. You think you wouldn't, right? But I mean, I know I'm susceptible to that stuff because I don't have a strong sense of self, or I didn't. I think it's much better than before, but even though I'm a strong personality, having a strong sense of self is different. And I think that that's what a lot of people think, like, oh, that person was about this, and that person was so educated, and that person came from a great family, and that person was on their own since they were 15. But really, you don't know. Yeah. And so next time we'll talk about Jim Jones. All right, guys. Till next time. You already heard it here. Jim Jones episode next. So, all right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. Bye.